Welcome to the Tech Insider, where we talk to the people who can give you the insights and trends that matter to you in your business. I'm Christine Grail with Leica Geosystems. I am so happy to have with us today Reality Capture subject matter expert, GIS professional, and digital twin innovator, Patrick Crawford. Patrick, welcome to our program.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so fascinated to be able to speak with you today. So you have been working in the geospatial professions for more than 18 years now. And I'm sure that in that time, you've encountered some interesting situations. What is your most interesting memory?
Most interesting memory. I think one of the most impactful ones was the first time the first time I used or was exposed to point clouds and reality capture technology. I went to school for drafting, and I was a draftsman for a small civil survey company. And we were doing cross-country pipeline projects, so we were sending survey crews out, from Kansas City out to West Texas and up to Oregon, and they'd come back and we'd work with all of their data. And we had a Leica C10 sitting in one of our closets that none of the surveyors were currently using, and someone pulled it out and used it on a site, and it was pretty life changing for me at the time, because I immediately just asked, why are we not using this on every project, and eventually was able to champion that technology using that C10, that Leica C10, and kind of grew my career from there. So that's one of the most impactful memories of my career.
So you have a Bachelor of Science degree in computer-aided drafting and design, and you started out as an engineering technician. And I think you were pretty happy in that role. That was what you had studied. And then all of a sudden, you found yourself in an interesting situation where you got laid off. And
Yeah.
then I believe they offered you a job in GIS, and you had to figure out, what is GIS? Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because that was kind of a life-changing moment, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was 2010, and we were the country was going through the recession at the time, and we were busy, but for whatever reason, I was let go, or my position was eliminated. But I was given the opportunity to interview for a GIS consultant role with the same company, but in the energy division. Again, pipeline projects, and so not knowing what GIS was, and just kind of relying on my my past performance with that company, which I had been with for 4 years. I took the role, and in the interview basically said, I had to look up the definition of GIS before I went into the interview, but let them know that I was a hard worker, I was a fast learner, and I was interested in technology. So that was enough to keep my foot in the door and make that shift, which at the time I wasn't extremely excited about, but it really was it was a catalyst to really changing the trajectory of my career, and gave me a lot of opportunities.
Well, and it was a great opportunity for you to recognize that there are so many other things happening in the geospatial industry that you could get involved with. I think that was really your launching point for starting down this path of, you call yourself now a digital twin innovator. And that was really the beginning, because you started to really see where all those opportunities could be and where all that potential could be.
Most definitely. I will admit, I don't think at the time I really understood what the potential was, but once I was able to get more exposure and really had time to learn on the job as that GIS consultant, while also performing other duties within that company. I was still at the same time, I was still working on drafting projects, and I was still primarily self-performing a lot of the reality capture work for that company. So I was fortunate that for the majority of my career, I'd worked for small and medium sized engineering firms, because small companies, they require people to take on a you know a large amount of skills. If there's a need, they need people who are willing to jump in and fulfill those needs. And so I got a lot of exposure to different aspects of surveying and data science. So Python programming, like all of these things, kind of all culminated in that change in job title.
So you learned GIS, and you learned all the ins and outs of what that meant. You started early on with reality capture. And it's interesting because I don't think everyone recognizes how those different technologies work together. But you, from the outset, were starting to put them together. Talk to me a little bit about the role of both GIS, which is the mapping component, and reality capture, and how that comes together.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting, it's been an interesting evolution to kind of to watch, both of these technologies, reality capture and GIS, and kind of see, where they begin to intersect. And, GIS, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's data science with, a spatial component added, right? So it's, in a lot of cases, it's tabular data that you're able to add a coordinate or an address, or some kind of spatially identifying feature to that data, and then you're able to extract and identify. You're able to identify different patterns and things of value. And reality capture, to me, on our smaller scale, when we'd go out and scan a compressor station, we're doing a lot of the same things, right? It's gathering a ton, it's a mass data capture at a specific point in time, and then again, using CAD software and classification techniques, we go in and extract the value. And it always seemed to me, working in both worlds, that there was synergy in those two technologies. They're just the compatibility and the integration of the two just hadn't been, wasn't there in the early 2010s. Since then, 3D GIS has really has moved forward. And then with the advent of the digital twins and those concepts, really, at the end of the day, what you're looking at is taking all of these disparate data sets, these unconnected pieces of information, and a digital twin is really consolidating them, bundling them all into a single experience where you can draw on all of that information. And so, I don't think you can have digital twins of the built environment without reality capture. But I also think that the collaboration platform where all of those data sets go to commingle and work together is going to be some kind of large geospatial database, and that's GIS.
So you've seen the technology evolve quite a bit over the last 18 years, especially coming from your CAD background and GIS into reality capture. What amazes you most about the different things that have happened on the technology side?
How the main thing that strikes me, and almost on a daily basis now, is the accessibility of the technology. The When I first started using reality capture technology, one of the main arguments as to why the company I was working for, why we weren't using it on every project, was that it was too difficult to train surveyors to to use the technology. which I laughed at. Many of my, some of the smartest people I've ever met and some of the best mentors I've ever had have been land surveyors. And so seeing the technology then and now and how quickly I can, um, you know, consult with someone who's never even looked at a point cloud, who's not a trained surveyor, not trained in field processes, and how quickly I'm able to get them up and running with a myriad of reality capture solutions. I mean, it's just it's astounding how fast it's moving and how quickly that technology is kind of spreading. It's not dissimilar to the drone and UAS industry, where the market is really starting to push. Everyone's wanting to adopt this technology, and I think it'll be ubiquitous very soon.
Well, and you were really a technology evangelist of sorts in your previous role. And I think I spoke with you at one point when you were one of the first users of the Pegasus backpack system and mobile mapping and just coming
Yeah.
along with all these different reality capture technologies. And so you saw firsthand how much potential there was on the technology side, but you really need someone who's able to take it and run with it. And now, as it's gotten easier to use, that opens the door to even more possibilities. What was the most interesting project you found yourself involved with, either on the GIS side or reality capture, or both?
Yeah, the most interesting project, it was actually a kind of a combination of everything, but of both GIS and reality capture. But I was part of a team in 2019, and uh, uh, we were able to go to Easter Island, the island of Rapa Nui, and we used UAS, drones to map 7 square miles of the island, and then I brought along a handful of reality capture devices and was able to go in and do some mapping of some of the cave systems and lava tubes on the island, as well as participating in the island mapping. And then also, to go along to kind of round everything out, we took all of the aerial imagery and hosted it in a web GIS website, and was able to allow a group of people, a group of individuals and volunteers to go through and kind of classify and analyze the imagery collected, so that we could find culturally significant sites, old villages and the remnants of old homesteads and things on the island. It was incredible 10 days, and probably the most interesting project I've had the pleasure of working on.
That sounds like an amazing project. And of course, being a technology innovator or someone who puts yourself out there, you obviously have to take some risks too. And so I'm sure that you've learned some lessons along the way in applying technology. Is there anything that you can share with our audience that is a significant lesson learned from your experience?
Um, the lessons learned, I think, when you're using, yeah, when you're applying technologies for your specific purposes, I think it's important to always, um, let's see, I'm trying to think of how the best way to answer this, but every piece of technology has was designed to perform a certain function, right? And it's easy to kind of start pushing towards the limits of that technology, whether it's a Pegasus backpack or a drone or web GIS, and kind of push towards the limits of what it's currently capable of doing. And so I think the important lesson is, always, know your fundamentals, train with the equipment that you're going to be using, know, what it's, know if there are any pain points with that technology, know where its strengths are, and apply those strengths appropriately, and don't always try to you know duct tape a process together using one technology or another, and hope that it all comes out. It's fun to innovate, but it doesn't always equal a profitable project. So, those are things to keep in mind.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. You've got to be willing to take risks, but at the same time, be willing to understand that sometimes things don't work out the way you planned. So be
Right.
willing to adapt and adjust, right?
Right.
So, yeah, so you, for most of your career, you've used Leica Geosystems technology, but obviously you've been in roles where you had the opportunity to experiment and explore other providers of technology. And now you are a reality capture consultant with Leica Geosystems. You recently joined Leica Geosystems. What is it about Leica Geosystems that you feel brings the best innovation and technology to the market? What do you like best about Leica Geosystems as a brand?
I mean, frankly, I think if you look at Leica's position in the industry and its history in the industry, reality capture is exploding right now. You've got new companies coming out, every quarter with new scanners and new software, new products, and some of them are very innovative. Some of them are, clearly, they're derivatives of other people that are in the market. But Leica has been on the forefront. Of the industry, at least in my perspective, for my entire career. I mean, I started out using Leica equipment. I learned to scan using that equipment and working with, the working with my my regional consultants, and working with the support staff, and that's where I got a lot of my training, was just on projects, and then turning to Leica whenever I needed help. There are a lot of really amazing products out there. I mean, you've got LiDAR in your iPhone, you've got different wearable SLAM based scanners, you've got other static scanners, and everybody's trying to find that competitive edge. But in the history of the industry, Leica has always been on the forefront, and that's one of the reasons why I when I made this move from the service side over to the product side, I was comfortable, moving over to Leica. The solutions are solid. The products are something that I can stand behind, and it's interesting to see how everything's made.
So now you're a reality capture consultant for Leica Geosystems. And so now you are working with other professionals, guiding them, answering questions, helping them figure out how to evaluate technology, how to solve problems. What do you love the most about your new role?
I think a large part of my career there's always been kind of an opportunity for me to introduce the technology to new customers, and even internally within the organizations, the service companies that I've worked for. And now I get to, I'm not limited to one company. I get to bring this technology to any of my interested customers, people who have heard about 3D scanning. And I think that's again, the kind of one of the interesting parts about the where the industry is going, is there's more and more people, not necessarily just survey companies, but surveyors, engineers, architects, and then just small businesses that are looking to add scanning to their service offerings. And I'm able to go in and work with them and get them started on the right foot. I really, really enjoy talking to people and teaching them about reality capture, and the endless number of use cases for the technology, and what you could do as a business. I really, really enjoy that part of the job.
Have you heard of any surprising use cases lately?
um I mean, surprising use cases, maybe not surprising, but I don't know, things that I just worked with a customer a few weeks ago, where they started off wanting to use reality capture to document power poles, and then one of the facets of small business is, in a lot of cases, the opportunities they have aren't necessarily focused on a single service, right? If you're a small business, you're kind of, catching any opportunity that, comes out of the chute. And sometimes you have to really pivot to those different opportunities. And seeing a company that first wanted to map the objects on power poles and document the objects on power poles using terrestrial based scanner. And then an opportunity came along and they needed to map out um, potential routes for underground fiber cable at an apartment complex. And the fact that, they could pull rely on the same technology to accomplish both. That's kind of the fun part. Is you've got this tool in reality capture, and then finding, all of the versatile ways that you can use the same tool to, service your customers and ultimately, make money as a business. So those are the types of things. I mean, I don't know if that's super innovative, but it's always entertaining and it's always fun to just, see people put the pieces together. Um,
Unique place right now because I feel like I've been covering this industry for quite a while. I know you've been involved in doing the work for quite a while. And it's been a little bit of a challenge. I feel like that the real innovators have always wanted to do more than what the technology was capable of, right? Like pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. But now we're at this place where the hardware is finally caught up, the software is finally caught up. There's so much that you can do between all those different technologies, whether it's a handheld laser scanner, a mobile laser scanner, or you mentioned the web dashboard earlier, and now there are new capabilities coming along with Reality Cloud Studio that are really exciting, right? And so it's
mhm.
fun to be able to watch that transformation and to be able to empower small businesses like what you're talking about, to be able to
Yep.
empower them to do things in a way that never would have been possible in the past.
Right.
I wonder, though, that does create some interesting situations where maybe there are some misconceptions about what technology is actually capable of. Have you come across any common misconceptions?
I mean, the most common, especially with new users of the technology, you know, people, when you demonstrate, do a quick demonstration of, show them a point cloud, and they automatically assume that, a scanner is going to be able to document everything within a, given environment, as well as things, behind walls and underground. And you really, have to make it a point to explain to some of the customers, this technology is going to map the surface of your environment or your subject, and that, any kind of sensing, through objects and things like that are, is not, is not a capability, not of reality capture. Also, misconceptions are that we can just take this out and gather, select your device. We can just go out and set it up and run it, and, without really planning out or understanding the scope of a project, and we'll get enough data that we'll be able to just kind of pull it all together in the end. And I think, while, one of the real benefits of 3D scanning and reality capture is the amount of information, the amount of data that you're collecting, also the amount of, kind of collateral data, the information that's not necessarily useful for your initial scope, or maybe not the subject of your initial scope, but it's extra, information that could be valuable in a project down the road. If you're mapping the outside, if you're scanning the facade of a building, and that's what your main focus is, but you're also capturing all of the data on, the facades of the buildings, across the street. You may not think that those buildings are useful until you need some kind of construction offset, or there's a lot of things that could there's a lot of value that can be extracted from those data sets, and so making sure that you know customers, when they're implementing and when they're using our technology, they are keeping focus of their project scope and implementing the technology to support that scope.
Yeah, that planning is still so crucial. I don't think that planning piece is ever going to go away. AI will never be able to take over on that side of it, right? And listening to what your customers, your clients are actually trying to achieve, and then matching the technology to those objectives. That becomes even more important with all the technologies available to you. So you've kind of worked your way along in different roles throughout the geospatial profession. There are obviously some new people coming in. We want new people in the geospatial professions. What advice would you have for someone who's maybe getting ready to launch their career in the geospatial industry, or is just starting out in their early years?
I mean, my advice to anybody that's starting out, I kind of, especially in the geospatial market, I looked this up before before our talk, but the 2024 projection for just the broad geospatial industry, like it's a $94 billion industry, and it's growing rapidly, and there are so many facets, um, of the geospatial industry. There is GIS, there is reality capture, there is there are A&E, architecture, engineering, and construction opportunities. It's really be curious, and be excited. Really look at different opportunities that may come your way. A breadth of exposure, getting a lot of exposure to different aspects of the geospatial industry has really, that has, there's been a rocket underneath my career, right? It's propelled me in directions that I had no clue, that I even wanted to go. And so I would just say, go and, be curious, look into, different aspects of the companies that you're working for, and learn, what those departments do. How does engineering use geospatial technology? How does environmental use geospatial technology? How does construction use that? And having a breadth of exposure and knowledge on that kind of will help you put all those put things together, and help you move your career in the direction you want to go.
One of the things I've always found fascinating talking to people throughout my career is watching them adopt technology and then start to see all the potential. It's kind of like a snowball effect. You find one open door, and then that leads to something else, and that leads to something else. And that certainly seems to describe the way that your career has gone. But I think you need to have a certain mindset to be able to see those possibilities too. What possibilities most excite you right now as you look to the future?
I mean, I think the big thing that everybody is looking at right now is artificial intelligence, and I think it's at a certain point in its hype cycle. I think right now there's a lot of pontificating on what the future is going to look like, with AI tools, being widely available to everyone, and I think that's really interesting. I think we're starting to see people actually implement, um, uh, productive and sustainable uses of that technology. Um, just looking at some of Leica's products, and in the 3D geospatial realm, classification, right? It just advanced classification of data is going to be huge, and then classifying data and being able to use that to inform some kind of AI analysis on a site, or on a scan subject. I mean, just I think I think the possibilities are huge, and I think we're just in the near future we're going to start seeing more practical uses of that technology in conjunction with reality capture. And I think what you're going to see is that the more the increase in the use of those types of tools is, there is going to be a demand for more data. And so what that means from a reality capture standpoint is, as you need more and more data to run through your AI and machine learning tools, that's going to mean more scanning, repeated scannings. Ultimately, that's what a digital twin comes down to: is it's data that's refreshed at a known and consistent interval. Whether it's if it's a 3D scene or something, a digital twin of a built environment, you need new data coming in to kind of refresh and inform the condition of that digital twin. And I think AI is going to be a huge part of that moving forward.
It's so great to see how some of those bottlenecks that previously existed in the data management side of reality capture have now been removed or in the process of being removed with AI. Like that's really exciting, because where people have really been challenged with, okay, the technology is great. I'm so glad I can capture billions of points of data, but I don't have the teams in my office to be able to handle that. That's
Right.
not so much of a challenge anymore, because now the software and the capabilities of the systems are really streamlining that whole process. And that just opens up so many new opportunities for where reality capture can be applied. It's exciting
Right.
times. So, Patrick, from our discussion, I'm sure people are probably getting the idea that you're the kind of guy, you just do reality capture for fun. You're all reality capture all the time. I'm sure that's not the case. Where can people find you when you're getting some downtime?
Where can they find me? Let's see. I'm kind of a little bit of a gym rat. I'm kind of, especially, so I like to stay active, and run and lift weights and things like that. With my new role at Leica, with the amount of traveling, I'm becoming a bit of a homebody whenever I actually am home. So a lot of a lot of things when you're a homeowner, and there's always those home issues. So I do like doing some different DIY projects, and I spend a lot of time at Home Depot and Ace Hardware when I'm around. So
Well, I
that's
understand that you're there in Kansas City, and so if somebody needs some advice on some barbecue, you're probably the person to go to for that as well.
I do have my favorites, so for sure, yeah. There's
Excellent.
plenty to choose from.
Yeah, I have to get some of those from you. So, have you listened to any podcasts lately, or are you watching anything or reading anything that you'd like to pass along to our audience? Doesn't necessarily have to be on reality capture, but it could be.
Sure, yeah. So I do listen to quite a few podcasts. A lot of them are just kind of technology. Some of them are technology based and and market based. I like the Pivot podcast with Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway. I think they talk a lot about AI, but more from a market perspective, and how that's going to change. How that technology is going to change, and things like that. And then just I also listen to just regular podcasts. What else do I have? Listen to some audiobooks, things like that. So that's primarily what I'm looking at.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Patrick. It's been fabulous getting to know you a little bit better, and I hope to have you on our show at some point again in the future.
Awesome. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Same here.
Be sure to check out the description for additional resources on this topic. If you enjoyed this content, give us a like. If you'd like to see more of this content, be sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the Tech Insider.